Macca's Guides.
Hey guys, Macca here. Today we're playing Gears of War 4 and I'll be showing you all 50 of the collectibles available in the campaign for the Completist achievement, and we'll also be grabbing the Remember the Fallen achievement for recovering all 10 COG tags, which are included in those 50. During the prologue, after clearing the bunker with the grenade, go to the other bunker across and you should be able to find a collectible. Now we were forced to go up the left path to the bunker, but instead we want to go back down to the right path, and we should be able to find a COG tag alongside the edge of the path. Shortly after gathering in this area, you can exit by going forward, take out the enemies, and you'll notice the watchtower directly in front of you. To your right, as you exit, there should be a poster on the wall. Now we're still in the prologue, but scenes have changed. You'll notice that there's a small toll booth on the left-hand side of the road as you approach. Go inside to pick up a stack of newspapers. Shortly after that, now that we're in the little town square with the fountain, we have the Hammer of Dawn and we're taking out some enemies. Go to the right-hand side from where you spawn after the cinematic, and you should be able to find a COG tag. Then, after reaching this safe zone, you should be able to find one collectible behind the burning vehicle on your left, and another collectible on the table to your right. Moving on to Act 1, Chapter 1, which begins with this giant Windflare, and you'll take out a couple pipes in order to clear the path. Continue to walk forward, and then as you enter the small bottleneck area, turn around to your right, and then face back where you came from in order to see this collectible. Later on in that same chapter, you'll open up a door and notice a giant working robot in front of the window, and you'll turn to your left and follow the path. Do not drop down at this point as it triggers a checkpoint. Instead, continue down, and you'll notice a collectible on some of the products. Shortly after defeating 2 swarms of DB robots, you'll notice that there's a gate in front of you with the number 2 on it. There's also a building to your right, and a large tower in front of you as a landmark to know where you are. Go in that building to your right hand side, and inside of one of the shelves you should be able to spot something. After triggering the small cutscene inside of the maternity ward, you'll notice the large window with the tower in front of you. Go through the first area and you should be able to easily spot this collectible on a coffee table. At the end of the chapter, you'll come to this large courtyard before exiting the level, which is triggered by opening a door. Make sure we grab this poster by going down, and then to the left and up these stairs. Act 1, Chapter 2 has one collectible. After arriving near the fabricator, make sure we pick up the collectible in the back left of the room. Act 1, Chapter 3 also has one collectible, which is attained after reaching this courtyard and killing off the enemies. After that, go down and loop around into this small section, and you should be able to spot a collectible. Next up, we have Act 1, Chapter 4, which takes place entirely in one area. As soon as you spawn after dropping off the fabricator, walk forward and pick up the collectible on the post to your right. Keep in mind that if you start with the fabricator, it'll start a small timer where enemies will spawn, so try to grab these early. From that same fabricator location, we're going to go down into the courtyard and to the right. Now, I have some flames on my screen. You may not have these flames depending on when you get this, but if you just stick to the right from the very top and find a small path into a small area, patio type thing, go in there and you should notice on the ground there is a collectible. From the location of the previous collectible, we're going to go back across the courtyard and we'll notice that there's another small patio type section with a chair on it, and next to that chair we can find yet another collectible. Near the beginning of Act 2, Chapter 1, as we enter this area, instead of kicking down the door, which is the objective to our left, make sure we go to the right and to the gate that's entering a cemetery area. Next to that gate, we can find a flower, and then also enter the cemetery for a small cutscene. Once we reach the property from the very beginning where the gate entrance is, turn to the right to notice this small hut, and behind it we can find a collectible. Shortly after the previous collectible, we'll open the gate into the mansion. Notice some stairs to your right hand side where you can fight some enemies, and there's a small room off the back. There's a collectible inside of that room. Right after getting attacked by this chopper in Chapter 2 of Act 2, there's a room directly behind you, and next to the fireplace you can pick something up. Later on in the chapter, something will fall down and block the stairs behind you. Go down those stairs and into the first room. Inside of this room, to the left, you'll be able to find your collectible. After that, you'll come to this area where the winery has been burned down and there's some DBs behind this pile of boxes to find it. Now during Act 2, Chapter 3, you'll come to this section where you can pick the left or right path. I would recommend that you pick the right path in order to speed this process up. After choosing that path, once you spawn, there should be a collectible to your right and a little bit behind you. If you choose the left path instead, you can fight your way to the end and circle back. Now the next collectible is in a similar area to the last one, but on the left path. However, it's near the very end of the path, so it's a lot easier to circle back to. At the end of the left path, you'll notice that there's a small truck with a bed, and in the back of the truck, you'll be able to pick up the collectible. Act 2, Chapter 4 has no collectibles. At the start of Act 3, you'll come to this small section with some broken down cars and an archway in front of you. To the left of that archway, there's a small path where you'll be able to pick up a collectible. Upon going indoors, you'll notice that there is a large pod in front of you. To your right hand side, down the hall, on the desk, you'll notice a piece of paper. Later on, in Chapter 2 of Act 3, you'll come through this small farmhouse or stable and exit into this area. Turn to your left to see a rundown greenhouse where you can find a COG tag. Later on in the chapter, you'll exit this house. You'll notice a snatcher on the rooftops and this dead body hanging over the ledge. Turn to your right, and at the end of the path, you'll notice a COG tag on the ground. At some point you'll also reach this courtyard with a large statue in the middle, and off to your left on a bench finding a piece of paper. We are now at the beginning of Chapter 3 in Act 3. Continue forward towards your objective, and instead of going through the door, mantle over the cover and follow the path to find a small figurine. After coming through this large narrow section with some snipers and torque bows at the back and some blue flags on the right hand side, go down the first set of stairs and keep on the left hand side, going into this small side room to find a sign on the wall. Later on you'll be approaching the museum. Before going forward and trying to kill the turret guy, make sure we hook around to the left and up the stairs in order to find a long shot and also our collectible. Then we'll make our way up some stairs and notice furniture covered in tarps. Before going outside in order to continue the battle, make sure we look behind us and hop over this cover to find a COG tag. Now we're in Chapter 4 of Act 3. Drop down the small hole and notice the buzzsaw directly in front of you. Instead of continuing towards your objective, which is on the left, go to the right and up the stairs to find a COG tag in the corner. Later on in the mission, as you make your way through the catacombs and enter this area, go forward and progress to your objective, which is the door at the end of the room. Next to that objective, kind of behind you to your right, you'll notice that there's a small sword which you could pick up. Now in Chapter 5, there's one collectible found inside of this main unit. Enter from the middle and go towards your objective, and there's a small washroom. On the toilet you can find a newspaper. Now in Chapter 6, this one is extremely hard to miss. As you enter into this digging site, you'll notice a large crystal on the left hand side, which you'll interact with in order to progress the story, and it'll also be a collectible. Then, much later on in this chapter, after you come through this area and fight some pouncers, get through this door, you'll notice that there is some boxes of hammer bursts, and behind the ones on the left, you can find the collectible. We've now started Act 4. You'll come to this area, and to your left hand side, just hook around to find the collectible. At the very beginning of Chapter 2, you'll notice a large kind of wheel embedded into the side of the cliff on your right hand side. Continue down this path and stick to the left, coming across a dead body. On that dead body, you can find some COG tags.
Look at this. Still got his COG tag. Wonder if his family ever found out what happened to him.
You know we can't exactly drop that off into Ephyran.
I know, but it's better than leaving it out here.
You should end up at this familiar area, and in the control rooms on the left, on the main floor, you'll find a piece of paper. After progressing through Chapter 4 of Act 4, you'll come to this area with a bunch of control rooms and a lot of piping, a very industrial area. You'll even notice that there's a small window on your left-hand side, and as you go through these two crushed large pipes, there's an open room on your left with a soldier on the ground who has COG tags. After clearing out all of the enemies in the room with the large chains, go forward and to the left before going through the door in order to find the collectible. In Chapter 5 of Act 4, after coming indoors, check the room to your right to make sure you pick up that COG tag. After blowing up the coil in order to open the door, progress forward past these large two wheels and then stick to your left-hand side through the series of hallways in order to find a small room with a letter collectible.
Yeah, I think we've established we're not very lucky.
Marcus, this backup of yours, how do you know he'll help?
Back at the house, I sent word I might need him. Pretty sure he's
Yeah? I guess we'll...
In Act 5, Chapter 1, after entering this courtyard, make sure we check the small path that's off to the right-hand side to find our last COG tag and also unlock the achievement for Remember the Fallen. After entering this complex, stay on the main floor and head to the small room on the far end to find a note on a control panel. In Chapter 2 of Act 5, you'll progress through a small building where you walk on a plank and then drop down onto street level and walk forward through an archway. Make sure you check the side room to your right-hand side after passing under the arch. Act 5, Chapter 3 has no collectibles, and your last collectible will be unlocked upon finishing the campaign. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope the video helped you unlock those 2 collectible-related achievements. Shout out to Kramer and Barth PL for helping me out with some of these locations. If the video was helpful, I would appreciate that you drop a like to show me some support and share the video with a friend. Special shout out to DocCupcake84 for supporting the show on Patreon, and hopefully I see you guys next time. Peace!